The designer behind this board once said he wanted people to see this weight in 3 years and be absolutely confused about what the hell it even is. Mission accomplished, dude.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Scoop Bar. Today we're looking at the Gehirn60, a 60% keyboard designed by Baionlenja and Bowl Keyboards and managed by Control, which ironically this will likely be its last project. It's currently in group buy through February 15th with fulfillment estimated for Q3 2026. Pricing starts at $225 USD bare bones and goes up to around $420 USD for the Rakka Hall Effect kit. Now before we get into it, quick reminder, Scoop Bar is a passion project run by me and my good friend V. We both work full-time job on top of this, so if you enjoy what we do, a like and a subscribe go a long way. A few of the links are down in the description if you want to support us in that way too. We appreciate every single one of you. Alright, let's talk about this board. So right out the box, the Gehirn has presence. It's 1.2 kilograms on build, which is solid without being a paperweight. The front height sits at around 17 millimeters. Typing angle is 9 degrees, fairly aggressive, though I haven't found it to be uncomfortable. And the effective key height is 22.8 millimeters. The case is 6063 aluminum with stainless steel outer weight, and you can immediately tell that there's a lot of design work packed into this thing. And by packed, I mean panel lines running along the sides, engravings on the surfaces, a front badge sitting on the front face that gives the board real identity when it's sitting on your desk. Flip it over, and you got this fossil-like engraving on the way that Baionlenja designed to look almost printed, like an image pressed into metal, but with actual surface variation. It's weird and cool, and honestly, I'm here for it. Now let's talk about the screws because they're actually worth talking about. Baionlenja introduced what he calls Baionbolts, angle screws that hide external hardware without needing any tiny M2 screws, glue, magnets, or any extra parts. He wanted M3 screws that don't interfere with switches and don't require anything fiddly. Now it took him a while to crack it, but he did. And after he shared the cross-section diagrams in his Discord, other designers started adopting the approach. On top of that, they're magnetic, so they seat cleanly and don't get lost during assembly. It's a small detail that makes the build experience noticeably better. The other thing I appreciate right away is the built-in force brake. The plate also has small relief cuts at the mounting points, which softens the harshness that you'd expect normally from a top mount. We'll get deeper into how that affects sound and feel later, but first, let's talk about who made this thing and why that matters. The Gehirn60 is a collaboration between two parties, Baionlenja as a designer and Bowl Keyboards as co-designer and vendor. Baionlenja's a Finnish keyboard designer, and if you know anything about the custom keyboard scene, you've probably seen his work or at least heard of his name. His aesthetic draws heavily from HR Giger, Y2K design, and the Neon Genesis Evangelion. The Gehirn actually is German for brain, and it's also the name for the Nerve's predecessor organization in Evangelion. So yeah, the theming runs deep across his whole portfolio. What makes his design approach interesting is how he describes it himself. He said he wanted to create an alternate timeline where custom keyboards evolve in a different direction. So you got this classic custom silhouette, the box on wood you recognize from earlier customs, but then every flat surface becomes a canvas for engravings, graphics, and panel lines. He's cramming as much visual identity into the case as possible and doing it in ways that nobody else really has. Now, I do want to briefly address Baionlenja's history because it's part of the story. Back in 2021, his bias round 2 group buy failed. A supplier took his deposits and never delivered the boards. Combined with project management issues on his end, it resulted in hundreds of thousands of euros in personal debt and a lot of let down customers. It was bad and it shook the community trust understandably. However, what happened after that matters more in my opinion. An internationally known project manager named Manu stepped in voluntarily, no compensation expected, and took over all of Baionlenja's projects to get things back on track. And rather than disappear, Baionlenja chose to keep going, own the mistakes, and work through it. His projects are now managed by Control, which provides the project management backbone that was missing before. And that context is exactly why Bowl's involvement on this project carries weight. Bowl Keyboards is a US-based vendor and a friend of ours. We've collaborated and reviewed several of their
boards, and they've earned the trust in the community both on the design side and fulfillment side. They co-designed the Gehirn60 with Baion. This isn't just a vendor slapping their name on someone else's work. And the vendor network for this group buy is strong. 10 regional partners across North America, Europe, UK, China, Australia, Southeast Asia, Canada, Korea, Japan, and Thailand. That kind of distribution means good regional shipping and local support. And on the PCB side of things, these weren't designed by some randos. The MX PCBs were designed by Gondo, a pizza-loving Brazilian engineer who's basically a legend in open source keyboard PCB design. He runs the Acheron project and has designed boards for Mode and dozens of other projects. The EC PCB comes from Cipulot, an Italian electronics designer who is the name in aftermarket electrostatic capacitive PCBs. If you've seen an aftermarket EC PCB in the last few years, there's a good chance he designed it. The Rakka Atlas Hall Effect PCB comes from Rakka team with Wuche Studio involvement, a next-gen Hall Effect module with some serious thoughtful engineering. Here's my point, this board has credible people behind every component, and that matters. Alright, let's get into what makes the Gehirn60 tick from a design standpoint. Mounting is classic top mount, 9 mounting points, and I know some of you just heard top mount and had a reaction, but hear me out. Top mount was chosen intentionally here, and for good reason. It ensures clean compatibility across MX, HE, and EC PCBs. A gasket mount system creates problems for EC builds, in particular where you need rigid plate to PCB contact. Top mount also gives you that direct, loud sound signature that a lot of people actually prefer in a 60%. The relief cuts at the mounting points work well, so the plate isn't completely rigid. It's got a bit of localized give right where it matters. This makes the typing feel less harsh than you expect from a typical top mount without introducing the mushiness of a gasket. It's a smart middle ground. Now here's the part that really sets the Gehirn60 apart, PCB compatibility. You can run this board with an MX hot swap PCB, an MX solder PCB, a Rakka Atlas Hall Effect PCB, a Venom HE PCB from Geonworks, a Wooting60 HE PCB, or a Cipulot designed electrocapacitive PCB with DynaCap parts. That's 6 different PCB platforms in one case. And plenty of plates choices as well. MX plates come in aluminum, PC, polypropylene, PEI, and carbon fiber. 5 materials for both 6U and 7U versions. Rakka gets its own aluminum plate, and Venom and Wooting each get their dedicated aluminum plates. And DynaCap gets stainless steel plates in both 6U, HHKB, and 7U configurations because EC builds require metal plates with no flex. Layout-wise, you're choosing between 1 key, 1 keyless, 7U HHKB, and 6U HHKB. That choice is locked to the case, so pick carefully. Both confirmed that 6U stabilizers will also be included for anyone ordering the 6U HHKB version. One thing to watch, the Wooting plate only works with 1 key along the needed USB-C extender, and the Venom plate only works with 7U layouts. Make sure your case choice lines up with a PCB you want to run. With aesthetics, 7 colorways, and honestly, they did a good job giving people range. Mechameleon is the flashy one, Color Shift Cerakote, Meteorite is sparkle gray coated, Containment is green anodized, Anomaly is blue anodized, and Pastille is teal anodized. These are your clean, solid color options in the anodized aluminum family. Cryogenesis is frosted acrylic option, sandblasted acrylic top and bottom. And then there's Gambling Ages. Age aluminum on the top and bottom, raw stainless steel outer weight. Here's the thing about this one though, each unit will look different. The patina process creates natural variance in color, tone, texture, and finish, and that's intentional. You're literally gambling on what your specific board will look like. The images on Bowl's page actually show Pangea mini samples to illustrate the kind of variance you can expect. The styling across all of them is very much Baion's Y2K aesthetic. The front badge on the front face gives the board identity from across the desk. The panel lines, the side engravings, the fossil weight on the bottom, everything works together. It's a board that has something to look at from every angle, which honestly isn't always the case with 60% boards. Sound-wise, the Gehirn60 is solid. It's a top mount, so you get that direct present sound signature, but there's no resonance or hollowness, just clean, defined keystrokes. The relief cuts at the mounting points help tame any harshness without killing the energy. Your plate material is going to be the biggest variance here. Aluminum gives you the sharpest, brightest sound. PC and polypropylene will soften and deepen things. Carbon fiber stays stiff, but introduce a slightly different texture. PEI lands somewhere in the middle. Point is, you've got a lot of tuning options within the MX ecosystem alone. And obviously, feel can be further configured pending on your PCB choice with MX, HE, and EC. Here's a personal note on the EC build specifically. I've come to really appreciate using EC when I have headphones in while editing. The softer actuation with a tactile feedback and the deeper sound profile don't compete with whatever I'm monitoring. It sits in a different frequency range than a
clacky MX build, and when you're wearing cans for hours, that difference matters more than you think. So who is this for? The obvious answer is someone who wants options. If the idea of one premium case that can house your MX Daily driver, your EC editing board, and your HE gaming setup appeals to you, this board was literally designed for that workflow. It's also a strong pick for gamers who want a custom board aesthetic. The Rakka HE kit comes pre-built with competitive grade internals in a case that actually looks interesting. No RGB gamer branding, no plastic chassis, just a well-designed aluminum 60% that happens to have rapid trigger and adjustable actuation under the hood. And if you're already in the Wooting ecosystem, you can bring your own PCB, just make sure you get the USB-C extender. For anyone EC curious, the DynaCap bundle is a clean entry point. Everything you need is in the box. Cipulot PCB, DynaCap parts, stainless steel plate, no hunting for individual components from 5 different vendors. And they have a nice build guide for all the handholding one could need. And if you're a Baion fan or you just love Y2K meets sci-fi design language, there's really nothing else on the market that looks like this in a 60% format. The Gehirn TKL was the original. This is the compact companion piece. Who might want to think twice? If you need a whisper quiet board, top mount ain't it. If you need something bigger than 60%, look elsewhere. And if you're not comfortable with the group buy model and a Q3 2026 delivery estimate, that's fair. Know what you're signing up for. So here are some of my personal opinions. The PC swappability is the star feature and it delivers. I love the ability to order different kitting, EC, HE, and MX, and just swap the whole assembly based on what I'm doing that day. Very few boards offer this kind of cross-platform compatibility, and the fact that each PCB comes from a specialist designer gives me confidence that none of them are afterthoughts. However, because this board is specifically designed around swapping assemblies, I'd actually prefer exposed case screws. The Baionbolts look clean and they're clever innovation, and I respect the engineering. But the hidden screw design means you need to take off your keycaps to access the screws, pull the assembly out, then put the keycaps back on the old assembly before storing it. That's friction in a workflow that's supposed to be about easy swaps. Exposed screws will let you pop the case open, swap the whole plate PCB switch assembly in a couple minutes, and close it back up. For a single build board, Baionbolts are perfect. For a multi-build board, I trade aesthetics for convenience. On the DynaCap EC build, a few things to know. The DynaCap layout only supports split backspace, so if you want full backspace support, you'll need to get your own plate cut from someone like HE Keyboards. Also, EC builds absolutely require metal plates. No flex allowed on the EC PCB. The included stainless steel plates are the right call. For the Rakka Hall Effect kit, it comes pre-built, which is nice, but it's not available in 6U HHKB layout. The Rakka Alice PCB separates the LED and key scanning layers, so your RGB won't take your sensor performance. And the Mobius switches are specifically tuned for Rakka's Hall Effect sensors. The magnetic flux is different from the retail Wuche flux switches. It's a dedicated pairing, not a generic HE board. If you're bringing a Wooting PCB, don't forget the USB-C extender add-on. You need it for any Gehirn60 style PCB with onboard USB-C. Same goes with a Venom. And remember, Venom Plate only works with 7U layouts. One more thing, Bowl put a form on the landing page to help you figure out exactly which kit and add-ons you need. Use it. With this many configuration options, it's easy to miss something, and that form will save you a headache. So where do I land on the Gehirn60? I think it's genuinely well thought out board. The multi-PCB ecosystem is the headline feature, and it's not a gimmick. Each platform has a proper design behind it, and the case was specifically engineered to accommodate all of them. The design is distinctly Baion for better or for worse depending on your taste, but I think most people will agree there's nothing else that looks like this on the market right now. Sound is solid for a top mount, and the typing feels better than expected thanks to those relief cuts doing their job. Bowl's involvement gives me confidence on the fulfillment side of things. They got a track record, a strong vendor network, and they co-designed this board, so they're invested in it beyond just moving units. If I'm buying this for myself, and let's be real, I probably am, I'm going for the Gambling Ages colorway with DynaCap EC build. I love the idea of a patina aluminum board where every unit is unique, paired with EC for editing sessions with headphones on. That softer, deeper sounding typing experience just hits differently when you're locked in a project. The group buy runs through February 15th, 2026 with delivery estimated for Q3 2026. Links to Bowl and all the regional vendors are in the description below. Love you all, and I'll see you in the next build.